This is a slightly less than professional live stream, number 31, and I hope that you can actually hear me. I'm just going to bring up the video on the channel here. Here we go. I'll just mute that one, keep it playing on my other account so we know what's going on. There we are, that's fine. And we have the pop-out chat as well. Brilliant. So just been to the Bromley pageant of motoring today. It's not happened for 3 years actually. The last time was 2019, and that was the day when my channel really went a bit crazy. I did lots of filming with Ian Seabrook on his stand, and an interview with him, and I also happened to actually do a little shambolic shuffle around the rest of it, and the videos just went completely viral. I don't know really why. I don't understand that, but I got invited to go back by the event organisers in 2020, 2021, and this year. Obviously, it didn't happen in 2020 or 2021. So yeah, that was pretty crazy. They gave us a stand. We were right next to the arena, the Classics World stand, right opposite the food venues. We were interviewed on the main arena. The 5 of us who went in there, Mr. Bill and Lady Cobblehouse from Fuel Power, Amber from Driven 24/7, Simon from Lot 76 Cars. These are all people who've had their cars featured on the channel before. Obviously, I do need to review Amber's new one that she had with her today. And then my friend Wayne, who has the other 45 V6 that sometimes you've seen on the channel. It's probably one of the best ones in the country. There were 2 people who were with me today who didn't come onto the stand. They both also had their cars featured on the channel. Mr. Planet Man has given $5 Canadian. Oh, that's very kind of you, Mr. Planet Man. That's very much appreciated. A super chat donation. That works out by, it's just converted the money. It says £3.58p. That's actually more than I get for a lot of my videos. So I very much appreciate that. It will help to keep things running. So as I was saying, yes, Bromley pageant today. I've actually filmed 10 half-hour parts today. 10 half-hour parts. I thought it wasn't possible, but I filmed basically continually for something like 6 hours, including an interview. I just basically shuffled myself until, well, most people actually left. The final part 10, most people are sort of gone. And that includes most of the people who were on the channel with me. They'd actually left by then. So an absolutely and utterly extraordinary day. And I'm just rendering the first part. There are 10 parts, and I am very tired. It was an early morning this morning, but somehow we got round and my feet are very, very tired. So I'm going to have a sip of this beer. Fortunately, I bought myself a mini fridge a few years ago, and I use it when I stay away in hotels. It's very useful for a nice cold beer, or at the end of a sort of day when I've been very active. So I'm going to have a sip of this, and then I'll put myself into the Toby Carvery, that's right next to this hotel. For 8:30, I'll be having some supper. Mr. Hayden Saxby says, good evening. Good evening to you, sir. Mr. Waters from Scottish Car Enthusiast and Trains TV says, always love a shambolic shuffle in 10 parts. Well, I hope you love it, sir, because that's all you're going to see for quite some time. And we've got more shambolic shuffling happening next weekend, as you know. Mr. Saxby says, I haven't been able to make it for one of these for a while. That doesn't really matter, sir. It's good to have you with us tonight. Just sip this beer, just have a bit of refreshment. Oh, that's good. That's very good. Just what I needed. I have turned all the lights on in the room so that the lighting should be a bit better. I've also plugged my headphones in. The sound probably is a bit better like this as well. So there we go. John Cotton Classics. Good evening, sir. Thank you for joining us on this more relaxing Sunday evening than most of the stuff that's been going on. Let's see how far through rendered the first part is. 47%. That's probably going to take a little while, actually. It's, I think, like a 4 gig video or something, and then I've got to then upload that, so that's going to take a little while. But that's okay. That's good. Does anybody have any questions or something that they would like to ask? One of the things about the Bromley pageant is that actually the location is now within the expanded Oxford emission zone that's proposed to go to right the way to the Greater London boundary in August 2023. And that means, well, if they run the Bromley pageant next year, that it'll be okay because it will be before August. But anything after that is going to be a bit tricky because a lot of those cars there were not compliant with the ultra low emission zone. You know, some of them are really old. That's not a problem. Some of them are, you know, early 2000s petrols onwards, and you know, those are okay. But it's the ones in the middle, the ones from sort of 82 to around, say, 2002-3, which are the problems within that zone as far as the proposal goes for that. Carl Ravioli, good evening, sir. Good evening to you as well, sir. Missed the last few, good to be back. Excellent. Mr. Planet Man says, this is an interesting one. Honda Concerto 1.6 or a 214? That's a very difficult one because there was a Rover R8 to 200 with that engine from the Concerto, the D series 1.6 as well. So it's a really hard one to sort of say whether, you know, like a 216 or a Concerto be better. That entirely goes down to what your personal preference is. Actually, those cars were built on the same production line at Longbridge together. Honda's Swindon plant hadn't quite come on sort of full speed then, so they were built right together. I don't know. I like Hondas very much, but I'm more of a Rover person. The K series and 1.6 D series are very different engines. Amber is on the live stream. Good evening, Amber. I hope you had a good trip back to Bournemouth. Thank you for having me on your stand, and thank you for being a good friend. That's very nice, Amber. Amber's a very nice person. It was a great day with great people, and rest of the gang of stand. Yeah, we had a very eclectic group of people on the stand. The boss is one of my friends whose Toyota Verso S you might have seen on the channel in about February or March. He actually brought his dog, and the first like 3 parts of 10 I filmed today, you can see his dog following me around. It's really funny. Right at the top of the one make parking area they have there, right at the other far end of the site from where we are. So I decided to start at the far end and went my way back, but it didn't quite work out that way because of the way the shambolic shuffles happen. But yes, I'm hoping to have a go in this sound at some point. I've been looking forward to that since about January. Now it's obviously useful for long journeys because it's just made it to Bromley and back from Bournemouth. So that's pretty good. DBT says good evening. Good evening to you. Traboli says good evening all. Good evening to you, sir. I shall have a sip of my lager in the fact that you've joined us tonight. Oh, that's good. That's just what's needed. Brilliant. Just as well, I'm not driving for the rest of the day. I have to walk over to the Toby Carvery. Duncan Letts says, what am I going to drive? Mr. Harwood from Road Race Triumph for test. Unfortunately, I don't think I am going to drive that because he's got it up for sale. And I don't think I really want to drive it if it's up for sale. I don't really want anything to go wrong with something like that. I've got other cars actually in that area to film. The chap who is Mr. Harwood's friend, his name is Ben, and he's the one who had the Astra F that you would have seen, which I think is still for sale actually. If anybody wants it, I was quite tempted, but it's quite a long way from where we live. So I don't think I'm probably going to buy that, but I would recommend it. It's pretty good for the money. I think that's really good. He's reduced it to £1,000 now, something I think, as well, which is just pretty good. So he's got some other stuff for me to film. We'll be going back up to do those, and some other cars have been offered in the area. But as far as the Vitesse goes, I don't think I'm going to be able to drive it, unfortunately. Traboli says, would you say the Concerto's build quality was superior to the R8? They were built on the same production line by the same people, as we've already said. So they're probably like exactly the same. I don't know if there is any actual difference. A lot of the parts are identical in them as well. So a question is, I probably know because they're the same. Party People says, what happened to the Sanyon? Well, we've still got it. I'm actually going to be filming at some point an two-year ownership report on it. But the thing is that in comparison with the sort of early years of owning that car, there's really been nothing to say. The only thing we've had done on it since it was serviced last year is to have the bodywork fixed on it, because my lady wife kept sort of reversing it into things, and it's been all fixed now. It's all fine. And then someone decided to crash into me in a hotel car park in East Sussex and not leave a note. So I had to have that fixed too, which wasn't very much fun. But yeah, there's not much to say really. It just kind of takes my lady wife to work and does long journeys for us. That's why it doesn't appear very much on the channel, because there's really not a lot to say. It does what it needs to do. Mr. Waters from Scottish Car Enthusiast Traders TV says the price on the Astra is tempting. Yeah, he's reduced it a bit to 1,000, so it's very tempting. It's absolutely no budget reviews. That one. So yeah, it's a good car. Like I actually saw another Astra F in the local area to where I live in Hampshire on Auto Trader the other day. I sent it over to Ben and he had a look at it. And he said, oh, that looks quite good. And then we looked at the MOT history on the one in Hampshire compared with his. And there was so many like rust advisories and things like that his would have been a far better buy, even if it was £250 more. I know he's had the cam belt done. I know that he's, her head gasket on it and things like that. I know that it's in really good condition, even though the mileage is a little bit higher. So sometimes it is worth just spending a little bit more on something that you know has been done properly, rather than trying to cut corners and then ending up trying to do like amazing numbers of rust advisories and things. Mr. Aylett is here, who brought his 45 V6 to the Lloyd Vehicle Consulting and Friends stand today at Bromley pageant as well. It was an amazing day. Thank you for today. Well, thank you, sir, for everything you do as well. We actually got to go into the main arena at Bromley pageant today. I didn't actually record that. I think someone else recorded it though for us. But we were in there, the five of us in there. Five cars, 6 people, I think it was. It was quite a weird moment. It's really weird being interviewed in the arena at Bromley pageant. That was really strange. And Wayne, I think, very much enjoyed his interview. Trabelli says Belmont SRR SD3 Vitesse, both 89. It's a very late SD3 Vitesse. The trim level's not quite right for me. I think the Belmont CD was top of the range. And obviously, it was a Vanden Plas. I saw an F registration SD3 Vanden Plas today with a leather interior and wood at Bromley pageant, and I just wanted to buy it immediately. So I think that probably answers your question, sir. But I do want to drive a Belmont as well. Party People says, it's looking very well. Yes, the thing has gone. I had a comment the other day from someone who says, oh, your channel's really great, but I don't like the lump on your head. And I was like thinking, the video that's actually videos commenting on, the lump had actually been removed. If he watched about 5 minutes in, he would have seen the lump's actually gone. So he was a bit silly to do that, and I wasn't very happy that he decided to do that. It's like kind of saying that, I don't like the fact that, you're white and you're not black or something. I'd like you to be black. Like, a bit silly what people say sometimes, isn't it? Like, there's nothing that you can really do about certain things like that, and you just have to delete the comment and sort of move on. That's just what it is. If you don't want to watch a channel, don't watch it. It's fair enough. Go and do something else. Hello, Mr. Neats. Thank you so much for allowing me to join the stand today. That's no problem, sir. Thank you for helping out today and complimenting the little array of vehicles we had, where we just sort of squeezed into a good corner. Excuse me. Mark Z says, a great review of the IQ. I've just bought the same year color, and I'm liking driving it. They're surprisingly nice to drive, but one weakness is the gearbox in them, because it's not the same gearbox as in a Yaris or an Igo. It's got a different sort of pattern it's laid out in. And, it just doesn't feel as quite as nice as a Yaris Mark II gearbox, which I think is very good. It just doesn't quite feel as nice. But apart from that, steering's pretty good, driving position's good, handling's quite good, they're quite nippy. It just depends what exactly you want to do with the car, but the running costs of those are very, very low, very low. Which obviously at the moment, with stupid prices of fuel and ultra low emission zones pending and all this kind of stuff, means that that's actually a really sensible buy for a lot of people. If you don't need more than 2 seats, really, because it's only really a 2 to 3 seater, not a 3 to 4 seater. It's really a 2 to 3 seater. Then yeah, that's not a bad car at all. I enjoyed it anyway. Excuse me. Sorry, my voice is not great. Having spoken all day for 5 hours or more on the videos, it's a bit crazy. So I must have sip of this. Travely very kindly reminding everyone to hit the like button. Yes, it does actually very much help out in terms of ranking the video on YouTube. It doesn't cost anything, which is very good. So yes, we've got a few people who actually at the Bromley pageant today. Just waiting for the first video to render. It's over halfway done, but it might take a little while. So we'll have to wait quite a while back, but I've got to upload that, and that might take several hours actually, depending on what the connection's actually like here. Anybody else got anything else they would like to ask? Whoa, Mr. Waters. Petrol protests. What are your thoughts on planned petrol protests? I've seen a few events coming up on social media blocking certain parts of the road. What do you mean by the protests, sir? Are these people who are protesting against the price of fuel? Are they protesting against petrol cars? I haven't seen anything about that so far. Mr. Saxby, have you seen a new Astra 308 yet? I have actually seen a new Astra in the metal. The Fuel Power channel, I was with them at the SMT test day in April, and they did a walk around of the brand new 2022 Astra. I didn't have time to do that, as well as all the other videos I filmed. So yeah, we filmed loads of videos. They filmed loads. I filmed loads, and we just sort of, in some ways, we just decided not to film the same cars. Excuse me. Excuse me. They filmed the Astra. I only look at it, but I didn't film it. New 308. I'm not sure I've seen one of those yet in person. Maybe there was one on the Stellantis stand. Yeah. Yeah, the Astra. I don't think it looks too bad actually. That. Paulie Galtieri says, "Good evening." Good evening, sir. It's very good to have you with us tonight. Party Pooper says, "What do you think your next car will be?" The Rover and the Sanion aren't going anywhere. They're not going anywhere, to be honest. The Sanion we've got on like a 5-year bank loan, which will be like the 6th year of a warranty. We might sell it in a couple of years. We might keep it right away until that finance agreement finishes in 2025. I don't know. At the moment, we might as well just keep it. There's no reason to sell it. The Rover, well, we're just having a lot of work done to it. From this week it's going up to see Mr. Coleman. I'm going to leave it with him for a couple of weeks, and it's going to have all its work done. I've just recorded actually a ownership report for 2 years on that car, and if you're a channel member, you can already see that. Excuse me. And it details all the work that he's doing. So we're going to keep that, I think, but we'll just use it for shows and local journeys mainly, and also going up to Mr. Coleman and sometimes his uncle to work on it. and that's about it. That's what we're using it for. We're going to put the miles on my mother's Mercedes, which you've seen an ownership report of on the channel quite recently, because otherwise it doesn't do anything. So that's what we'll be using. And when we go up to Lakeland Motor Museum for the social event with Planet Auto next weekend, next Sunday, I'll be in the Mercedes. We're just trying to work out with Mr. Quirk and Mrs. Quirk and I whether we just take one car from where they are to there, which might save us a lot of fuel if we just take one. We might just take one car actually up there, which will probably be the Mercedes. In terms of another one, we are thinking of getting another car. Just so my lady wife doesn't, have to park such a big car at work. She kind of likes the SsangYong. She prefers the Rover, but the Rover, the thing is, it's a V6 and it's very thirsty, and we shouldn't really be using it. It's such a rare car all the time. So we're thinking of getting something to just kind of take her to work and back, really. And there are some possibilities that I'll be looking at. And if when that happens, I'll let you know. Something we've been talking about for a while, but just because of sort of craziness and trying to sort logistical things out with things like my mother and things like that, which is very important because of big illnesses that she has. It's not really like the major priority for us to start spending money on something we constantly don't really need, but it'd be fun to have. DBT, so I'm getting my first car next month. That's interesting. You're welcome to borrow it for a sensible secondhand classics review once I've got it, if you like. DBT, my email address. It's in like virtually all the videos at about your sort of 10 to 30 second mark. Just send me an email and let me know where you are and what it is, and I'm sure we can sort something out if it's an area that I'm able to get to. Mr. Waters is just referring to the fuel protests that I've not actually heard anything about. This is interesting. I'm being informed myself here. It's about protesting against the price of petrol, trying to copy the French lorry drivers a few years ago to get prices down. Yeah, the prices are really stupid. There's a local Shell to where we live, and I pass there, and sometimes the price has gone up by 4p like a day. It just seems that they can the oil companies and the government, I don't know if it's like a conspiracy or something, or it's one or the other, just can charge whatever the heck they like, and people just pay. But they don't realise the fact that wages aren't increasing at the same rate as the price of fuel is. So it'd be nice that your wage increases by say like 2% every day, because that's effectively what you do. If you're putting 4p on the price of fuel that costs £2 every day, that means your wage is increasing by 2% to match it, but of course it isn't. So I think that's really quite a bit of a problem. The lorry drivers that I think Mr. Watts is referring to is what they call in France the gilet jaune. In France, you're required to carry a high visibility vest with you at all times. And I think the motorists use those as like a sort of protest uniform. And I agree with all of you. There is a video coming out of the channel. The channel members on the Row 45, sorry, V8 Toledo and Row 45 V6 tiers would already seen this, but it's called "Can You Afford to Run Your Car Anymore?" It's one of the very vague vlogs, and the one, but there's been some quite popular very vague vlogs recently. Like the one I did about what I do just generally when I source a car for somebody, which was just a video I made because I didn't source a car that day, which I was going to. It literally was a filler video. That's done quite well. So look out for the next few weeks for a video which is going to be called, some of you will have seen this, but it's called "Can You Afford to Run Your Car Anymore?" And it, the price of fuel probably will date it a little bit because it will have been recorded about 5 to 6 weeks in advance. So yeah, will obviously be interesting discussion after that, I'm sure. Trabali says Renault 21 Turbo, Emission BX16 valve, or the Peugeot 405 MI16. I have driven a BX. I was going to drive a 16 valve one, but it never happened, unfortunately. The car broke down the day before I was going to drive it. 405 MI16. I would love to drive 405 MX16 and a 21 turbo. I feel, having not driven the latter two, I would prefer the 405, but I really, really don't know. It's impossible to say. Paulie Galtieri says, I could see you in a 216 EF5 Vanden Plas. Yes, that's exactly what I filmed on the Vanden Plas Owners Club stand at Bromley pageant today. I filmed one and I want it. Elias Lamari says, European Parliament votes to ban the sale of all new internal combustion cars by 2035 to fight climate change. Do you really think this is going to happen in 2035? Do you think the second-hand market will change soon? That's a really, really good question. As you know, we have this potential, no, it's not a potential ban, it is an actual ban, supposedly coming up in 2030 of all fossil fuel engine cars that are not plug-in hybrids. And even then, we don't know which plug-in hybrids will be available for sale. So it's going to happen, apparently, in this country even sooner than that. But will it go through in the entirety of the European Union and here? I haven't got a clue. I honestly don't know. Does that really fight climate change if we're still plugging in and having, fossil fuel sources generate our electricity? I don't know. With big queues for, public charges. You decide that. I don't know. Will the second-hand market change in terms? I presume, will the second-hand market be a little bit cheaper? I don't know. Unfortunately, what's happened is that the top 10 best-selling cars, a video that you would have seen that came out on, I think, Friday. I put it out. The sales, year upon year, are down about 20%. So there are 20% fewer cars coming in even than last year, which is one of the coronavirus-affected years. So, unfortunately, that probably means the second-hand car prices are still going to remain a little bit on the high side, and that's a shame for somebody like me who, my business is kind of trying to find cars for private clients, and if they can't afford the cars, they don't want to hire me. So, second-hand car prices do very much affect everybody, including some of my business. So I'm hoping that it won't continue to happen for a long time, but it might do. Mr. Matt Pink, who's lovely Toyota, appeared on the channel with a Toyota Paseo back, I think it was about March or April, put that up, is here. Good evening, sir. Looking forward to the Isle of Wight mini adventure, which is happening in September, which my lady wife and I are both going to be going to. Well, she's not going to be in all of it, but I'm going to be going to the Isle of Wight in September with the Fuel Power channel as well. Some of you would have seen Mr. Pink appear on the Fuel Power channel as well, with the Yugo Sana, which he bought from Ian Seabrook from Hubnut. Mr. Pink is a wonderful man. That's why I'm so much looking forward to having effectively what will feel like a bit like a holiday. There's not masses of filming to do on the mini adventure, so I'm looking forward to that tremendously. Unlike today, it was 10 half-hour videos today, which was absolutely insane. I don't know what I do really sometimes. Mr. Waters says, just about to start filming a catch-up video of petrol stations I visited in March to see how much the price has increased. The local ASDA since January has gone up 32 pence a litre. That's crazy, sir. Paulie Galtieri says, private jets are exempt from the climate change policy, are they? It's interesting. Mr. John Q. Citizen says, are there no forbidden fuel engine cars with a place on his heart? There's only one thing I can say to that. I'm afraid that's it. So, yeah, that's the answer to your question. Right, Mr. Saxby. Whenabouts in September is the mini adventure on the Isle of Wight? I think it's like the third weekend of September, from what I remember. Right. Jay Spears. Oh, hello, Jay. He says, evening. I've never seen so many used cars for 5 figures or smaller dealers. It's mad. The example I keep quoting is the fact that in 2017, when I first started sourcing cars for private clients, we managed to find a very, very nice 7-year-old Kia Ceed for a friend of mine. It's one of my first jobs. It was job number 1 or 2. And it was great. I think it's quite high. Might have done like 90,000 miles or something, but it's a very nice car for about £5,000. It's brilliant. I love Mark 1 Kia Ceed. I used to like almost exclusively source Mark 1 Kia Ceeds for clients for quite some time. I think I sourced about 4 of those and 2 first-generation Hyundai 30s. But now, I met someone the other day who spent the same money on a 2013 Citroen C1. There's quite a difference between a nice Kia Ceed that's 7 years old and a 9-year-old Citroen C1, and yet the Citroen C1 now costs the same money. It is absolutely and utterly insane what's happened. Of course, there are still cars to be had. But, the Mazda 2 that I sourced a couple of months ago, back in March, that's a fantastic car for the money, actually. And also I sourced one for a client last weekend. There'll be a video on the actual process of me doing that, again, in one of the very vague vlogs that will come out in maybe 4 weeks or something. And that wasn't a bad car. It's pretty good. But yeah, you just can't find the same quality of cars anymore for the money. Yeah, that's just really what I have to say. Richard Howard says, evening, sir. DBT says, are there any cars that you've driven that appear to be exciting on the outside but turn out to be disappointing to drive? I wasn't disappointed exactly by the Chrysler Crossfire, but those aren't very good to drive. They're pretty horrible, actually. Yeah, they're not great. I think the other one was the Toyota Yaris T-Sport I drove on No Budget Reviews in 2020. People kept saying like what an amazing car it was, and the thing was that I until recently had an MG3, and I think the MG3 drives better than a Toyota Yaris T-Sport. Despite people kind of going on about how great they are, it was all right. It wasn't a bad car. The ride was really nice. The ride was a bit hard, and so was the sort of driving position. It wasn't great, and I just sort of think, well, I'd rather have an MG3. I know the MG3 is a bit more expensive than a Mark 1 Yaris T-Sport, but I didn't find it particularly kind of memorable or anything. It was unusual, really. Jay Spears says, very small cars are crazy. Yeah, talked about the IQ a bit earlier on, and yeah, those are probably going to go up in price, aren't they? I saw a 2016 2016 City go for £8,000. Yeah, that's the sort of thing that does. I mean, that car might have cost £12,000 to £14,000 new. To go for £8,000 now that's 7 years old. My maths is terrible. Or was that 6 years old? 6 years old is crazy. JD in Rotterdam says, good evening, sir. What do you think about the Dacia Spring? I don't really have anything to say about the Dacia Spring. I don't even know if we're going to get that over here. It's a small electric car from Dacia. Yeah, I don't really know, to be honest. Oh, Trabali has sent in a super chat donation. Well, that's very kind, sir. Second super chat donation for the evening. Thank you again to Mr. Planet Man, who gave the first one. It's 1998. The new Passat. I think those are called the B5 from memory, or the 406, both 1.8 petrol. I do like the 406, sir. We drove a very nice V6. A 406 Saloon on the channel in 2020, and then a 406 V6 Coupe in 2021. I do like them, but the Passat's kind of tempting as well. I don't know. It's a very hard question. The Passat does feel a bit better built. That's one thing I will say. But the 406 presumably is better to drive. Paulie Galtieri, what British Lily car do you dislike the most? Gosh, it's a difficult one. Not sure I'd dislike. Many of them, I find many of them kind of frustrating. But yeah, they are for me very charming. You can argue that quite a few of them are a little bit rubbish and compromised, but I don't know if I necessarily dislike any of them. I'm just trying to think if there are any that I really, really don't like. I don't know actually. I like the Allegro I drove. That was fun. It's quite a sort of advanced car in terms of the engineering, but was around at the time. It just wasn't very well executed in some areas. Um, yeah, yeah. So I don't know. Julian Knight says, "Good evening from Hamburg. Sorry, I'm late. No problem at all, sir. It's not an issue." Mr. Waters from Scottish Car Enthusiast and Trains TV says, "I never realised that the current Mazda 2 is essentially a Toyota Yaris until yesterday." That's not strictly true. They are selling the sort of older Mazda 2 still, but they've introduced the Mazda 2 hybrid alongside the current Mazda 2. So you've got a choice of both of them. But the Mazda 2 hybrid is a current generation Yaris. You're absolutely correct. It is a bit weird, but they're a lot more money than the standard Mazda 2 for a good reason. Oh, Jay Spears very kindly given a super chat donation of £10. Gosh, we're doing really well. That's it's been a long time since I actually had a video that's earned that much for me, so it's very much appreciated. Richard says, "Forces everything, Passadella's Ditchwater." I've never actually driven a B5 Passat. I've driven a Skoda Superb on that platform, and I quite liked it. But you know, perhaps I should have a go in a 4-cylinder. Well, I think I know someone who's got one actually. I'll have to see if he's around, if I can have a go in it. I think his mother owns it or something. Any more questions, or is that going to be it for the evening? And I'll continue to sip my beer, and thank you again to the 3 people who've sent in the super chat donations. It really means an awful lot, you know, considering all this crazy fuel price stuff that's going on and all that sort of thing. It's very good. Elias Lamari, do you think the ban on internal combustion engine cars by 2035 is going to affect classic cars in a negative way? Or do you think that because of the bad pollution stigma, the people insist more on scrapping than preserving? Oh my gosh. You know, I don't really know. It's too early to say something like that, I'm afraid. We could go either way for the reasons that you have noted. I mean, I drove a Volvo the other day for No Budget Reviews that you'll see at some point in the next couple of weeks. And the chap's had it from new. He had it 19 years, and he's still driving it. You know, that is obviously a car that's had its costs very much amortized, and you know, it's still okay. It still runs fine. So you could argue that telling someone that they need to buy a brand new electric car is worse for the environment than the you know, just keeping hold of the car he's already got. He's had it for ages. So I don't know. We don't really know yet, to be honest, whether that will be a problem. JDN Rotterdam, what's the longest car model in production? Do you mean the longest car model that was ever produced, or do you mean that what's the longest car model which is still in production now? Hayden Saxby says the new Mazda 2 reminds me of the Suzuki Swift, both obviously being badge. Yeah, they're exactly the same. They're what's called, I think, compliance cars is the phrase that comes to mind. Paulie Galtieri says the Passat B4 was my favourite. Never driven a Passat B4. I do know the one you mean. Never actually driven one of those. Effa Pheasant, that gets this right. Emission has done more for air pollution global warming this year than any car anywhere has. Mr. Coleman, rubbish mechanic, and I were discussing this the other day. We're not very big fans of Vladimir Putin. I'm very sorry, but we're not. He's caused a lot of problems for a lot of people. And quite possibly, yes. So Mr. Coleman says hello. Mr. Waters from Scottish Car Enthusiast Trades TV says hello, Mr. Coleman. JTN Rotterdam says maybe the longest time. Oh, the Lada is quite a long-lived one. That I think they made that from 1970 to 2017 or even longer. I think it was made in Egypt beyond the kind of life of the actual Lada factory in Tolyatti in Russia. I don't think I'm not even longest nameplate because the Corolla is obviously still in production, as Ilyas Lamari has pointed out. I think it's the one like single design of car that's remained in production. The Land Rover doesn't quite count because the Defender was a very different car from something like the Series 1, 2, and 3. I think that's the one that I would think about now. It might even still be being made. I don't know. Someone will have to look that up for me. Party Pooper says I bought a 2005 set of beef for brand new. I've still got it. It's the only car I've ever owned. Never missed a beat, and I love it. I think you've just proven the point that I mentioned earlier about the Volvo that I tested the other day. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Mr. Coleman says hello to Mr. Waters. I will have to go at some point because I have to go to my booking at the Toby Carvery in about 10 minutes or something because I need my supper. But we can keep going for a little bit longer. My video's still rendering from today. The first part of it is still rendering, so yeah, we're going to have to wait a little bit longer for that. Got to go on video to try and see. Mr. Waters says Hindustan Ambassador must be in for a shot, longest car in production. Yeah, probably. I think that sort of being made in 1958, from what I remember, and it was discontinued about 2014. So that might be another sort of candidate. I'm amazed they kept it going for so long. Really, I don't really understand why, but having been to India myself, they do still have those around. Actually, I think they're being outlawed in various states because of the terrible emissions that they put out. But nevertheless, it's part of culture over there. Right. Do we have any other questions? And I shall have another sip of this beer because it's really helping me get through the live stream today. Mr. John Q. Citizen, the Beetle in Mexico is long. Excuse me. My voice is not doing very well today. I've been talking for too long. Yeah, the Mexico was production of the Beetle was very long. It ended in 2003. You can say that the Beetle went into production really about 1945, I think it went into production seriously. The Nazis did make some, but sort of serious production was about 1945 and then to 2003. So that's going to be hard to beat, probably. Mr. Waters says the Big Car Channel's done a video on the Ambassador recently. Yeah, I've seen that, and the other video as well. There's two he did on his second channel. I've seen that one too. Paulie Garcia says the Austin Ambassador Van der Pla had no rev counter. Very disappointing. Yeah, it is a bit rubbish, really. They kind of trimmed all the decent bits of the Princess when they made the top of the range Ambassador. But again, the car was in production for I think 18 months or something. So maybe it's not the end of the world. JD Rotterdam says, "What's your favourite car from the 90s?" I don't really know, to be honest. There's too many for me to choose from. I've driven some really good 90s cars, but there's too many. I can't just choose one. It's impossible. Party People says, "Enjoy your Carvery." Thank you. I'm looking forward to my trip to Toby Carvery. Richard Howlett says hello to Mr. Coleman. Mr. Coleman might be there. His Jeep Cherokee went live on the channel yesterday. Mr. Coleman must be there because he says, "I saw a Suzuki Baleno GTI thing. I can't remember what top of the range Baleno was called. It wasn't called the GTI. It was called something else. I have to look that up." But yes, I know exactly what you mean, sir. And I do know. I think it had a 1.8 engine. Oh, right, Mr. Waters has beaten me to it. Yeah, the GSR. Yes, that's the one. They are quite rare, actually, those. And of course, I would like to drive one because I'm that kind of person. Mr. Coleman says hello to Richard Howlett. It's nice when we all say hello to everyone else. Oh dear. Jay Spears says, "What's your favourite British lane car?" I honestly don't know. Dolomite Sprint might be a strong candidate. I'm a big fan of the professionals, so that could be one. There are obviously loads of others I could choose. I don't know actually. I haven't got a clue. Mr. Coleman saw the Suzuki Baleno GSR, and it was black. Yes, probably a facelifted one. I imagine if it's a GSR. Right, I think that's probably it. We've done 45 minutes. Somehow I've made it through despite all the filming I did today. So I think we'll say thank you ever so much indeed for watching this slightly less professional live stream, number 31. Thank you for the 3 people who left a super chat donation. This will be, without a doubt, one of the most lucrative videos of the last few months. That's very wonderful of you. It means a lot. What did it say here? Diesel says, "I turned up for the last 5 minutes." Well, I hope you enjoyed it, sir. Samara says, "Party people's happy with 2005 set to FIFA, but don't you think that people in the future don't appreciate his car, but it's not getting environmentally friendly and pushing to get something newer?" Oh, I don't know. Possibly. It's too early to say. Yes, Richard House will see you next week. Mr. Cobbs says, "Good night, curry has arrived." I don't think I'll be having curry tonight, but I do enjoy curry. Mr. Waters says, "Thank you for our chat and enjoy the carvery." Yes, I will do. The secretary says, "Thank you." Jane Rodriguez says, "Is England also thinking low speed limit?" I've absolutely no idea, sir. Sean Cook says, "Original Mini was the longest running, but it was about 41 years, Original Mini. The A series went back to, I think, 1951 or 52. And it ended production in the A series, I think, with the Original Mini. So that's about 48, 49 years. Mr. Johnson says, "I've been to Harvester." Yes, I've been to Harvester many, many times. Right, I think that's it, everybody. Yes, and Paulie Gauthier just said good night, and we'll say good night to that too.